The government has hit go on the new traffic light system that will come into force this Friday. There'll be a mix of red and orange across the country, but what does it actually all mean? The Health Minister, Andrew Little, is with us this morning. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Ryan.
Now, we've been here before. We've had this conversation before, but I just want to clarify, because when you read the traffic light system and the wording of it, it's very different to the things that you guys have been saying at the the pulpit of truth. So, in terms of why are particular regions in red and why are particular regions in orange, when there's no pressure on the health system, when there's not widespread community transmission in these areas, can we just say from the outset that this piece of paper that you published a few months ago now, a few weeks ago actually, is somewhat redundant at this point?
No, not at all. I mean, the reason why some places are in red is because there's either infections there, or they are places where vaccination levels are low, or a combination of those things, and because of the summer break that's we're all about to get into, there are places where a lot of people are expected to travel to.
Yes, which is not on the piece of paper. This is the point. This is why everyone's getting so miffed and their knickers are so twisted, is because it's not written down here. So do we just say, for the moment, we're taking a cautious approach, we're easing into the traffic light system, so ignore what's here for the moment?
No, well, I thought we had said we are taking a cautious approach. So the traffic light system it tells you what happens at each different level. That's what it says. It doesn't tell you how you make judgments about how you go in and out of it. I mean, we have said that there's a range of criteria that we apply, the ones I just talked about. But we are taking a cautious approach because this thing isn't over. We've now got a new variant that could come into the country at any time. So we're just trying to manage it so we keep as many people safe as possible.
Okay, I understand. Let's split the difference then. Because, I mean, look, let's be honest about it. To be in red, you have to have a system facing unsustainable number of hospitalisations, which is not happening anywhere, and yet we have many regions in red. So let's just say that we ignore this for the time being until the traffic light system is fully bedded in.
I'm not quite sure what you mean when you say...
Well, because people are confused.
We have restrictions in place at the moment.
Yeah, but...
and we'll have restrictions in place under red. And there'll be some comparability between them. But the reason why, particularly in Auckland and in Northland, is we have an outbreak well underway there, and we also, particularly in Northland, have lower vaccination levels than we would like, and we have particularly
but what about
population at a lower level of vaccination than we would like. So we are being cautious about that.
Yeah, but there are plenty of places where there's no COVID and they're in red.
And there are places where there will be lower vaccination levels and certainly lower Māori vaccination levels, and or places where we expect people are going to travel to in numbers during the summer break. And so a lot of people turning up, and so we do need to have some precautions in place or some restrictions in place to stop the crowding and the overcrowding and what have you.
Okay.
So that's the approach that we're taking.
All right. Okay. All right, let's move on and talk about Tairāwhiti for a second, because you mentioned there's no indication about how you get between the levels. In order for R&V to happen, they have to go from red to orange, right? So what do we need to see within the next 2 weeks in order that they get to orange? What's the goal with the vax rates, and what does an overwhelmed hospital system look like?
Well, we definitely need to see the vaccination levels on Tairāwhiti go up, and particularly for Māori.
To what?
I mean, there's been a lot of concern in the community at the moment about rhythm and vines anyway, because people are terrified of a whole horde of people, a lot of them from Auckland coming down, creating out a reasonably confined sort of space. So that's the anxiety there. But so vaccination levels have to get up to that 90%, including for Māori. The health system it's coping at the moment, and we're confident it will continue to cope. But
so
got to get those vaccination levels up. And also the other thing is, of course, even under orange, only vaccinated people would be able to attend. So we need to know that the event organisers can manage that aspect.
Okay, but what you've just said is something that I've not heard before, which is that in order to get to orange, the Māori vaccination rate in Tairāwhiti has to be 90%. In other words, and the general rate's only at 75 right now, within 2 weeks, you would have to say, Minister, R&V's off.
Well, that'll be a call that the organisers are going to have to make, but they know the conditions, and that's what they are. It's all laid out for them. Yep.
Okay. We've had lots of questions coming in this morning from people wondering, because we are going there on Friday, a lot of the regions, as you say, are going to red. So what is life like at red? If you want to have a gathering in your home this Christmas of, say you've got a big extended family, there's 30, 40 people, do you need to scan, because this is what the website indicates, do I need to scan each of my family members into my home?
If you know your family members are vaccinated, you trust them, they tell you they're vaccinated and you trust them, that's going to be fine. If there are people you don't know, then you've got the option to scan their vaccine passport to verify that they are vaccinated.
Because that's not what the website says, the COVID-19 website. It says you need to use the My Vaccine Pass.
Well, people got to have their vaccine pass, but if this is, or these are people you know, they're family members, close friends, you trust them when they tell you they've been vaccinated, you accept that. That isn't going to be acceptable. If they're kind of regular contacts of yours and you know that, then that's going to be fine. Anybody else, you should be verifying with the Vaccine Pass app.
Okay, so I have a Christmas party, I invite friends of friends, there's 50 people coming. I should be scanning people and I don't know.
Not quite sure what the number limit there is, but anyway, whatever the number limit is. But if they're people who you don't know, then you should be scanning their vaccine pass. Yes.
And what happens if you don't?
Well, if there is an outbreak, if there's an outbreak and it traced back to your party, then the questions are going to be asked about you. You could be liable for an infringement if you haven't enforced that rule.
Is that infringement the same as hospo, 15 grand?
No, it won't be that because you're not a commercial enterprise.
But it's feeling a bit like that, isn't it, when you're scanning people into your own home?
Feels a bit weird, but again, this is about making sure that you want everybody who's turning up to your place or you're providing hospitality for to be safe from infection. That's what all the stuff is about.
Okay. Some quick questions, some yes-no quick fires, if you don't mind this morning, Minister. This is questions from viewers who've been emailing in this morning. Can you hug at a bar this Friday? Because there's space limits. So if you see a friend, we've all been in lockdown, you see a friend, you want to run over and give them a big hug. Are you allowed? Use
your judgment. I mean, if somebody you haven't seen for a long time, you don't know, kind of, for want of a better phrase, know where they've been, then I would just keep your distance for a little longer. You can do a kind of a virtual hug, that's sort of one at a distance where you sort of throw your arms around. Imagine you're throwing your arms around each other. Look, there are other ways of showing affection to people who you like but haven't seen for a while that doesn't involve close contact.
Like a wave.
Yeah, I'm not going to do not ask me to demonstrate it. But look, there'll be gestures you can make. But it is about, it's about just being.
I mean, come on, we're going to let people have a hug, aren't we? People are going to hug. They're going to have a few drinks. By lunchtime, they'll all be hugging. I mean, let's be real about it.
And this is the worry. So this thing is still around, and look, there'll be some people who will not want to be hugged because they are trying to take care of themselves too. They just don't know where people have been.
Okay. Very quickly, a couple of others. Can we share a taxi with other people?
If you're wearing masks and you're trying to get enough space between you on the back seat, you should be fine.
Okay. And mask and distancing at home, if we have people to our homes, can they take their masks off, and do they need to be a metre apart, or can we hug at home, at least?
Hug at home, people you know and love and trust. If you're having people around, you're going to have a cup of tea, the mask is going to come off, or it's going to be a very soggy mess. But, keep a little distance if you haven't seen each other for a while. And again, particularly for people who've been moving around a bit.
Alrighty. Very quickly before we go, one from me. Omicron, are we changing? I mean, Australia's making moves about delaying the borders opening. The UK is bringing forward booster shots. Are we looking at anything more in the last 24 hours you've seen?
Well, we've got the booster shot program underway now anyway. Look, we just really need to see what is happening with Omicron. There's different reports about the level of severity of illness that people get with it, so we just need to know that. We're not due to open our borders till mid-January anyway, and that's just to Kiwis in Australia. we're not changing that decision just at this point. We'll just keep an eye on what's happening in the rest of the world at this point.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Cheers, Ryan.
Great to have you on the show. See you.